Hi everybody, Michael here again. Just a question I want to ask people right now is that I'd love your opinion on what I term an overdiagnosis now of lots of symptoms that people are having, particularly maybe even children. And is there an over-reliance on the medical diagnosis? And I think this is something that we need to try and figure out a little bit more. We hear and see a lot of people talking about different types of symptoms they have. And in particular, I talk to a lot of even adults who say they have what is called adult ADHD. And I'm wondering, where is all of this coming from? And have we got into that era where it's now all about making a diagnosis, and yet there are no clinical results to show that this is the case? Lots of people are spending a lot of money going online and filling in forms to maybe suddenly believe that they have some type of learning or behavioral difficulty or ADHD or ADD personality. And I'm wondering, where is all this coming from? And how our own mind plays such a role in creating symptoms that often are not real. And are we now seeing a massive increase in what are called psychogenic diseases, or indeed psychosomatic type illnesses? We know that a lot of people can indeed create lots of different diseases. In actual fact, you might not realize this, but 30% of people who develop epileptic seizures don't have any real neurological condition. It's primarily psychological. This is a scientific reality. And I'm wondering if you remember, or if you wanted to research, there were a lot of girls one time who developed tics or Tourette's type symptoms. And what they realized was that a lot of girls in particular who were watching TikTok, it was called the TikTok tics. A lot of girls who were watching people with tics, that the symptom, the psychological symptom was created was that when they would see somebody on social media with a particular problem, they would think that they would have this type of problem, and they would develop the same symptoms. This is how the mind works and how the brain works. And when we see the impact of social media on young people today, is this what's really happening? Are we making a diagnosis that's not actually real? Is there an over-reliance on medicalizing people's problems? And do we really need to sit down and look at the role of our own mind and what we are watching every day on social media that is contributing to our problems? It doesn't take away from those who really have these problems. That's not what I'm saying. And it doesn't mean that if you have symptoms, you don't go to see a medical doctor. But the point I'm making is we're seeing this overdiagnosis of symptoms and medical labels being put on them, and people are believing that because they fit into a certain box or bracket or space that somebody else does on social media, that they have it as well. And suddenly we're creating those symptoms, and suddenly we believe that's our situation, and we fall straight into that trap. It's a little bit like people on social media talking about hormonal imbalances, and just because people have aches and pains, or they're not sleeping right, or they feel emotionally down, that suddenly, oh God, it's my hormonal system that's the problem, and then people start to believe that. And I could go on and on and on and talk about how media, social media, is able to stimulate our brain's activity, influence our mindset, and create symptoms that are not real. As I said, I'm not saying not to go to your medics to check anything out, but what we are seeing is that even with all the medical checks, there are people who do not have any clinical problems or reasons why it is their symptoms should be there. So I think we really need to look more at the impact of social media, and what is the next big thing? Is it Tourette's? Is it hormonal symptoms? Is it now the men's hormones? Is it now about weight loss? Is it about Ozempic? And how much social media and media is impacting the minds of our society and even our children? And I'm going to talk a little bit more over the coming days, particularly about our children. But how much is that playing into a role, and how much is that contributing to children not wanting to go to school, refusing to go to school or avoiding school, or how much it's affecting their lives in general and causing what we would regard as mental health issues and labeling them. I think we have to be very careful. I think we need to start discussing the real causes of this and the real impact that social media is having in creating psychosomatic illnesses. I'd like your comments on that and maybe what you think about it. Please like it, please share, and maybe we could get a little bit of debate going as to maybe the reasons why many of our children, or many people out there, are relying on some form of diagnosis which really isn't the problem. As I said, I've never seen so many people talking about adult ADHD, and in a lot of cases, if not nearly them all, I think it's absolutely crazy. That's not the situation at all. I think it's just the way the body, the mind, the brain works with, and how we deal with being overwhelmed in modern society. That's what I feel that is. At least that's what I deal with in my clinic every day. Anyway, I'd be interested in your perspective on it and what you think about it. And as I said, if you want to learn a little bit more, maybe do a little bit of research on the TikTok tics and how young women, young girls develop symptoms solely because of what they were watching on social media. Have a think about it, and looking forward to chatting soon.